Well, thanks for having me. Yes, it's been a crazy year, 2020. If any other year, I'd probably be there myself. I'd love to come in and do a tasting for you guys. We are trying to take one hurdle at a time, and we've got a lot of things going on at the winery. Today, I'm actually in our tasting room. Back behind me is just a kind of a chalkboard that we use for has kind of a hand-drawn map of Napa Valley, and we kind of our pricing and whatnot. But our tasting room is actually in San Francisco. We have a very unique situation. There's only a couple of wineries in Napa Valley that are actually in the city doing what we're doing. We built this location out in 2013, and so we all lived in the city and wanted to do something fun. We have a big courtyard, about 1,000 square foot patio, which is pretty unique for San Francisco in itself. And we get a lot of the businesses that come in for an after work glass of wine. With all of the offices being closed because everyone's working from home, we're pretty much the only ones in downtown these days. So it's really kind of strange just even being in our office. Other things that we have going on, obviously COVID, with all the restaurants closed, it's been definitely hurting sales. And I think, these things are very important for small family wineries like us. During COVID, a lot of people are actually drinking. A lot of people are actually drinking more, but they're actually drinking the big brands. And so for us, we're not recognized by a lot of those big box stores. We don't care to be in the big box stores. And so our sales are actually down. So we're very appreciative of you guys bringing us in to talk a little bit about our wines. As you can see, what we're looking at on the screen right now is actually a picture of our vineyard. And then there's a couple of houses in the background. I must have took this picture before 2017 because in the fires of 2017, all of those houses are gone. The fires actually burned right up to our house and did not affect our vineyards, but took out our neighbors' vineyards completely. The vineyards actually work kind of as a fire block. So if you can imagine a fire coming through, it's going to burn right up until the dirt, and then it's pretty much going to stop. But the fires in 2017 were so fast, the winds were so fast that they were blowing ambers from behind our house over the vineyard, over all of these houses here, and then over that mountain range, all the way over to Santa Rosa. So this year, there are a lot of fires as well, not only in wine country, but all across California. This year's fires were started a few months earlier. So it was pretty kind of wild for us as grape growers because we were afraid that the smoke was going to come in and actually ruin the grapes. Where we are in Napa Valley is Calistoga. And in Calistoga, we're at the northernmost part of Napa Valley, and we're between the Mayakama Mountains, and there's a little wind gap that goes up into to and from Nice Valley. So Nice Valley is very nice. It's a little bit cooler in area. The wind comes down and actually is keeping us safe this year for the fires. If you would have asked me earlier this week, I did not think or thought possibly that we could have had some sort of smoke taint on the grapes, but we've now been tested and we're clear to go, and we are actually picking on Friday. So that's a huge sign of relief for us because this is all we have is 10 acres of Cabernet. This is all Cabernet, a little bit of Cab Franc and Petit Verdot, but minuscule. And we have 12 rows of Petit Verdot, 20 rows of Cab Franc, and the rest that you're looking at is Cabernet Sauvignon. Okay. On this slide, you see Wine Enthusiast and Robert Parker's current ratings. Wine Enthusiast traditionally likes our Jax Y3 wines. The reason for that, they're a little more my flavor profile. They're going to be higher in acid, lower in alcohol. They're going to be a little more everyday wines, clean, fresh, and bright. And then our Jax wines are kind of a little more traditional Napa Sonoma style. It's going to be a little bigger, a little bit bolder, longer lasting in mouthfeel and ageability. So I always think the Y3 wines are meant to be consumed in the first 5 years to 7 years, and the Jax wines traditionally kind of being consumed, 7 to I mean, we've had people on our reserve cab stay, 18 years, 20 years. But since we're only been producing for 20 years, we don't really know how long they can last.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and flip to the next screen?
Yeah.
And if you have the Chardonnay in front of you, feel free, by all means, have a glass, enjoy. I just wanted to kind of show you that, we are a small family winery. This is the team right here. The picture on the left is actually the garage wine cellar. Back behind that is actually the Jackson's house in Calistoga. The picture on the right is on the top left in the black shirt is Kirk Venge. Next to him, you have Trent Jackson and his wife in front of him, both in the glasses. And then his sister Kimberly with the hat on. Their father Dave standing behind me with the red bandana and hat on. His wife on the other side with the glass of wine in her hand. And then they have 5 children between Kimberly and Trent, my partners, have 5 little girls. Of course, you can see the vineyard dogs and family dogs there as well. They basically bought the property in the early 90s as kind of a retirement home. Basically, they wanted to retire and grow grapes and sell them to other wineries. And Trent Jackson, the son, said, hey, why don't we make a little bit of wine for ourselves, friends, and family? And then Kimberly was at Pepperdine at the time. And then when she graduated from graduate school at Pepperdine, said, hey, I really want to try and make this a business. And then she ran the company from 2000 to 2012. And then I stepped in 2012 and really kind of fine-tuned the program that they already had going on. That being said, the Y3 wines, we have some great vineyard sources. We have great growers like the Duttons over in Sonoma. We're working with Beckstoffer. We're working with Stagecoach. And then the Jax wines are traditionally much smaller in scale. We make 200 cases of Chardonnay, 200 cases of Pinot Noir, 100 cases of Cab Franc, and about 1,800 to 2,000 cases of Cabernet Sauvignon that we'll try tonight. Excellent. What is the next slide by any chance? I believe it is a map. Oh, no, it's the story actually of Y3. So the Y3 that is on our label, which I don't currently have the Chardonnay in front of me. The Y3 was the cattle brand sign on Kimberly and Trent's grandparents' cattle ranch. So they thought it'd be fun to show homage to their grandparents and the generations of land owners and keep that Y3 traditional brand sign going. So they actually called the brand Y3. And those grapes are sourced from small growers like ourselves. So when I'm looking at making Y3 Pinot, Chard, our red blend, Sauvignon Blanc, or Cabernet, I'm looking to growers that are small like us, that know the importance of farming. Everything is earth friendly, it's organic or biodynamic, family owned, and hand harvested. So 3 principles that are what I believe the key principles in making quality fine wine. You're not going to be, we're not competing against some of the $10 wines on a shelf. Those are going to be your much bigger, larger production wines that they're making 150,000 cases of. We're making fine wine on a little bit larger scale than we traditionally are with our Jax program. These wines will have less alcohol, higher acidity, so the whites will last a little bit longer than a big, rich wine, and less oak, so it'll be a little bit more ready to go upon release. So you can have a glass, whether it's with a burger or pizza or just on its own. You don't need food with these Y3 wines.
Yeah,
a little more fruit forward and flesh. Let's go ahead to the next one. So Kirk Venge is our winemaker. He has been working on our estate since 2001. He actually helped us replant the estate. And so we really gave him, kind of like a chef, we really gave him the control and said, hey, what do you suggest we plant here? And he said Cabernet, a little bit of Cab Franc, and Petit Verdot for blending. And then it kind of goes from there. What clone do we want to plant and why do we want to plant it? So Kirk, if you don't know, has a label that he makes called Venge, which is his own personal label. He also consults for a lot of high-end wineries in Napa Valley, such as Macaulay, Bacio Divino, Beef Cellars, 1111, all great wineries making small amounts of wine, but getting very, very high scores. His father was the first 100-point winemaker in California, and that was for the 1985 Groff. And Kirk now has several high 90s and a couple, I believe, 100-point scores now, which is fantastic. If you haven't tried some of his wines, they'll be a little bit more similar to the Jax Cabernet that we have at the very end. Definitely some big, bold wines out there. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So I wanted to put this out there, and this in a nutshell kind of gives you the scope of Napa Valley. It shows you where we are. We're at the very top in Calistoga. Not a lot of visitors up there, so we just have our vineyard house, and that's what we do up there. We make the wine up there, but we don't get very much foot traffic, so that's why we put our tasting room in San Francisco. A lot of people go up to kind of St. Helena area and turn around. They hang out in Yountville, but we're a little bit more out of the way. The Sauvignon Blanc that we make comes from the Pope Valley, which is back behind Howell Mountain. The red blend that we're going to try today is for 3 grapes from 3 different vineyards, being our estate, Cabernet, Merlot from Rutherford, and Syrah from the Atlas Peak. And then our Chardonnay that you actually have in your hand right now comes from the most southern part of Napa Valley, down in Carneros.